Hello, I'm here to talk to you about strength training again. If you watched the last video, you'll know that I have been doing a bit of baseline testing in preparation for my winter training block. I ran a 5k time trial just to see where my fitness is at the minute. Didn't taper into it, haven't trained for it, it's literally just where I'm at right now and where I will be building from. I used that 5k time trial to get some data so that I can plan out my interval paces and the kind of heart rate that I need to be keeping within for the training to work the way I want it to. So I've got the data for the running portion of my training, and now I wanted to go and get the data for the strength portion of my training. If you're new here, you might not know that I go on about strength training fairly regularly, every sort of, I don't know, 3 to 5 videos, and I think strength training is very important for everyone, not just people who do any kind of sport. And expanding on from that, it is pretty well documented in various research articles and studies at this stage that strength training is really beneficial for runners. It's not necessarily going to suddenly make you incredibly good at running if you start lifting weights, but it does make your body a lot more resilient, and it just enables you to have a much more consistent training because your body's able to cope with more and you're less likely to get injuries, so you can just train more consistently, and it's an all-round win. Now, to get some solid baseline data going into the strength training portion of my winter training, I wanted to do some 1 rep max tests. Now, I have not done 1 rep maxing for maybe 2.5 years. It's not something I typically need to do or need to train for. I'm not a power lifter, so it's just not something I have bothered to do. But it occurred to me I might not be lifting as much as I could be lifting in my strength training. Now, as a runner, I don't need to be lifting loads and loads and loads. We're not trying to, as I said, we're not powerlifters, so we're not trying to like train to be able to lift as much as we can for 1 rep. That's not what we're trying to do. But there is no harm in me optimizing the amount I'm lifting in my sessions so that I can get the most out of them. Now, 1 rep max testing is difficult, and it's not something I'd recommend to someone who is still relatively new to the gym, because lifting as much as you can for 1 rep is an enormous amount of load on your central nervous system. And if you've never lifted heavy things before, or you've not been doing it for very long, then trying to do a 1 rep max is probably going to wipe you out for a few days. I'm in a period where I've not got any target races or efforts going on, so it doesn't necessarily matter that I haven't done really heavy reps for a long time. And it doesn't matter if I'm a bit wiped out in the days after, so it was more of a like, what the hell? Well, we may as well do it, and then I've got the numbers and my winter training can be more accurate. Now, because I don't do this very often, I did my 2 1 rep maxes on different days because I just knew that my body probably wasn't going to handle it very well if I tried to do them on the same day. I did my squat on the Wednesday in the middle of the week where I normally do my squat session, and I built into it as I would ordinarily, and I have in the past for 1 rep max tests. I did some warm-up sets, just gradually building my way up to a weight where I could do 5 reps of it, and then up to a 3 rep set. I usually suggest it's best to skip the 2 reps because doing 2 heavy reps is a lot of CNS load, so you might as well go from 3 to then just trying your 1 rep maxes. On this occasion, I miscalculated and I did end up doing a 2 rep set because I realized I'd just goofed it and I couldn't do it for 3 reps. So that probably didn't set me up very well for doing a 1 rep attempt, but I loaded the bar up with my squat PR of 85 kilograms and I was able to do 1 rep of that. I think having done that and made the error with doing a 2 rep set instead of a 3 rep set before the 1 rep max test, I just fried my CNS too much to go for anything higher. If I'd gone for 87.5, I think straight off the bat, I probably could have got a PR. Now, this is a surprise because I just haven't trained in a way that would indicate I could even match my PR, let alone go past it. So that was a surprise, and I was pretty pleased to match it. and to kind of be there with the knowledge that if I'd structured the session a bit better and maybe had a bit of prep, I could quite easily PR my squat. But that is not the goal of the kind of training I do, so I'm not going to worry about it too much. I've got my data, I've got my baseline squat, and I can use that number to calculate the kind of weights that I want to lift in training. Now, on Saturday, knowing that I had goofed the squat session a little bit, I went in and tested my trap bar deadlift 1 rep max. Now, you might question why I'm doing trap bar deadlift 1 rep max rather than a conventional deadlift 1 rep max, because that's normally what you see when you see people doing their 1 rep max testing. I don't train conventional deadlift ever at the minute. The trap bar is very much a superior lift when it comes to more sport specific, I hate the term sport specific, but more sport specific training. We can lift more with the trap bar and in a way that's biomechanically much safer. And it makes a lot more sense than using a conventional deadlift. Conventional deadlift is a great exercise. I just think if you've got the tools available, then you might as well use the tool that's better for what you're using it for. So I do trap bar and Romanian deadlift in my training. Those are the 2 deadlift variations that I use. So yeah, no point in me trying to 1 rep max my conventional deadlift because I haven't pulled conventional in months. It would be stupid to then try and do a 1 rep max test with a lift that I just don't train because I'll probably just injure myself. So that was the reasoning for testing with the trap bar. It's the one I train with, it's the one I'm going to be using, so I might as well just test that. Now, the goal was to go after my conventional PR, match that on the trap bar. Now, you should be able to lift more on the trap bar than conventional, but again, I've not been training in a way that would make me necessarily much stronger than when I last tested my 1 rep max on anything. So I just went for trying to match my previous conventional deadlift PR on the trap bar. Structured the build up a little bit better than the squat session, went through my usual warm-up sets with my gradually decreasing the reps and increasing the weight until I got to a kind of 3 rep area. And then I went to pull 120 and it was hard, but it felt okay. So I just thought, oh, okay, well, I could probably do 130, put 130 on the bar, and it didn't move at all. Like at all, it just wasn't budging, I could tell straight away. So I did the same thing, I just took it down. What I really should have gone up in 5 kilogram increments, so I goofed up here as well. I should have tried 125 first, but I went down to 125 just to see, and that one just didn't move either. So I think I just fried myself again. I don't really have enough experience with doing this kind of testing to be getting it right every time. So we're just gonna have to go with 120 as my baseline number for the trap bar, which is fine. Like, that's plenty enough to work with. Like, the numbers that I've got out of the spreadsheet are certainly big enough to be using in my training. I'm a little bit intimidated, but yeah, if we do another round of 1 rep max testing a bit later down the line, I'll just know that I need to structure the sessions a bit better and just think about it a little bit more before going into it. I think to try and get more accurate numbers, but the numbers I've got are fine to work with. So as runners, in an ideal world, we want to be lifting around 90% of our 1 rep max for our main bilateral compound strength sets. This is a general figure. Obviously, that's not necessarily going to be the same for absolutely everyone, and in a lot of cases it might not be worth trying to find out your 1 rep max, because a lot of runners are just going to get a lot out of doing any kind of vaguely structured strength training, and it probably doesn't need optimizing. I've been strength training for ages though, so it seems like it's a good time to just play around with it a bit more, have a bit more fun, see if we can zone the numbers in a bit. The other key thing as a runner, strength training, is that you want to be keeping reps in reserve. We don't want to be totally maxing out and just going to failure on these. A, because going to failure on big compound lifts is quite unsafe, but also doing that will just really fatigue your nervous system and your muscles, and it will make your running sessions way harder to carry out. So we want to keep things within a pretty clear zone of control when we're lifting. So we take this 90% of 1 rep max number, and my goal will be to perform that for sets of 4 reps. So 90% of your 1 rep max is a number that you should be able to do for 5 reps. So if we're performing this 90% number for 4 reps, that means we definitely have a rep in reserve. This is the thinking anyway. So if you're interested in trying to figure out a more optimal weight to be lifting, then you can test out your 5 rep max instead, which will be a little bit safer than trying to test your 1 rep max, which is just going to cook your nervous system completely. A 5 rep max test will still be hard, but it's not just going to be quite as CNS frying as trying to do the heaviest single rep you've ever done. Obviously it's still a bit dangerous, and I wouldn't recommend trying to do it by yourself. If you've got a spotter or you've got catch bars on your squat rack or whatever, then that's the ideal way to go about trying to do a 5 rep test. But if you are lifting alone and you do not have catch bars on your squat stand, squat rack, whatever, I wouldn't advise it, and you're fine just kind of guessing on feel as to where you think you still have 1 or 2 reps in reserve on your squats. Deadlifts are a bit different because obviously if the weight isn't moving, it's just not going to come off the ground. So it's not as dangerous as the squat. My squat 1 rep max was 85 kilograms, so that means that my 4 rep sets should be at 76.5 and my front squat sets should be at 65. My trap bar deadlift was 120 kilograms, so using that number, my 4 rep sets of the trap bar deadlift should be around 108 kilograms. And my deficit Romanian deadlift, there's not an easy conversion for this one. So there's a conversion for the Romanian deadlift, which will put me at 87 kilograms, but because it's a deficit Romanian deadlift, I might have to play around with that number a little bit. So I might have to start off trying a little bit lower, because I think trying to do 87 kilograms as a deficit Romanian deadlift might actually be too difficult. So I will play around with that. I might drop it to 80 actually to start with, see how that feels, and go up to 85 if it feels okay. That's the plan. As a bit of extra fun, before I did my trap bar deadlift test, I did test out my box jump just to see how much I could do at the minute. Foolishly, I'm not actually sure how high the plyo boxes are at the gym. They don't have numbers on them, which is really unhelpful. But anyway, because they're the only plyo boxes I ever do plyos on, I know I can typically get the black box and the blue box. I can do the jump on there, and then normally if I do stack the red box on the black box, it suddenly gets quite a bit harder. I can kind of almost get it, but I don't think I've ever actually managed to do that box jump height as of yet. So that would be really interesting. If I optimize this training and get my legs much stronger, then it would be really interesting to see if I could finally jump those 2 boxes on top of each other. That would be really cool to find out. So we'll probably circle back to that one at a later date as well. Okay, that is all my baseline testing for the winter training block done. I'm not starting it just yet. I do have a little very short camping trip in Wales where I'm going to get a little bit of mountain time in before getting into the road training block. But there will be more details on exactly what the winter training block is going to look like a little bit later down the line. So if you're interested in following that along and seeing me trying to go after my 10K and half marathon PBs, then hit subscribe. And if you have enjoyed me rambling about strength training again, then hit the like button. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.